What does DISC personality stand for? Dude, I'm still crying. No, that's not it actually. We're going to tell you what DISC stands for today and why it's important. We're going to give you those 4 behavioral styles and make sure you've got some self-awareness before you leave this video. So in this video, we're going to discuss, is there one particular personality style that's better than another? We're going to talk about each of the 4 styles in depth, again, but only at a 10,000 foot view. So right now you may be sitting at like 50,000 feet, but we're going to get you down to 10,000 feet. And then by the end, you're going to understand better which style you lean towards and maybe even some of the people around you. Let's say it's a significant other or brother, sister, mom or daddy. You'll start to kind of put some faces with some of these personality styles and understand yourself, then others, and be able to adapt that behavior, which is always the key. One thing to note before we get started is that there is no particular personality style that's better than another. You're going to hear me talk about high Ds today and high S's, and none of them are any better than another, but they all do have their strengths and their blind spots. So as we go through this methodology, we'll talk about the things that you do really well as those things you have to be mindful of and be careful of. Another thing we have to make sure that we're aware of is that when we use this personality information, we're going to understand ourselves first. That is key. Without understanding myself, I can't really communicate with others effectively. Number 2 is that social awareness piece, understanding those around me. So if I know that I'm a specific way and Bob's a specific way, Sally's a specific way, then I can start to mesh those things into our third and most important piece, and that is adapting our behavior. If we can adapt our behavior to meet others where they are, that's when we really start transforming the way we communicate. The first style we're going to talk about is the high D or dominant style. These folks are outgoing and task-oriented. Think Judge Judy, George Patton, those folks who are always on the go, always moving, always doing things. So in my experiences, my brother growing up was a high D. So I would come into a room and he would be laying on the floor in front of the television. This was back in the 1980s, pre-remote controls. And I would go back to the chair in the back of the room and he'd say, "Hey, Alex, come turn the channel." I'm like, "Dude, you're standing there like 2 feet from it. Just change it yourself." "I'm not." And so he was always directing me and trying to tell me where to go. In fact, that went all the way through until we got to college. And he said, "Man, you need to take this class. It's great. Take it with me. We'll do well." Yes. So he was the king of BS when it comes to writing. He was a history major. And so we were taking this history of medieval Europe together. Needless to say, I barely passed, but he was so driven to get the best grade possible. He would, stay after late and do whatever. He made an A in the class. So I was not as driven as he is, and not everyone is driven as these high Ds are, and that's okay. The next style is the high I style. They are outgoing and people-oriented. We call these the inspiring style. Never met a stranger, talk to a squirrel, can easily get, "Oh, dude, those are mountains out there, man." Oh, sorry, I'm taking a video. Sorry, I got distracted. Think about people who are inspiring like Robin Williams, one of the most improvisational comics maybe ever. Led a huge generation to bring people into comedy because of the way he just touched people and made people laugh all the time. But inspiring can also be someone like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who did it with passion and purpose and got a nation believing all on the same page. Thousands of people going to Washington, D.C. to hear him speak. Just a tremendous, inspiring style. So I personality styles are all about the fun. In fact, I was doing a pro bono engagement at my daughter's high school just earlier this week, and we broke up in the room into the different styles. And so the Ds were doing things and Is were doing things. We put them on a project or a task. I won't spoil that for you because it's part of what I do when I do my workshops. But we had them working on a project. And these Is, it was crazy. I had a little bit of music on my phone in the background, and they're doing the funky chicken. I mean, they're doing these steps. And like, dude, work on your project. And they were just so focused on having fun that it was just kind of interesting watching. And the teachers that were involved say, I see that in the classroom from time to time, but I'm in it. But when I kind of back up and see, these Is need to have fun. And so a lot of times you'll see Is being labeled as ADD or ADHD, and that's not necessarily true. They just want to be around other people and enjoying the moment, every moment, all the time. The next style is the high S style, or the supportive style. These folks are reserved and people-oriented. They'll give you the shirt off their back. They are super kind folks. They're the glue of any organization because they actually care about people. When I talk to folks in corporations and companies about who they have in their customer service positions, we talk about you need to have people with a strong S because they're going to make the person on the other side of that phone think that they're the only person on the planet. they're going to make, oh my gosh, these people, they really care about us, and as customers and consumers, they really listen, and S's do listen. In fact, a lot of times when I'm on a plane and I'm looking around, of course is that a high C, is that a high D when I'm on a plane? I'll have someone, I'll sit down beside them, and I'll immediately begin a conversation as a high I. I love sitting beside S's because S's are tremendous listeners. They'd rather listen than talk when they build rapport. So I'll sit down and say, hey, where are you from? So if I'm out here in Utah, I'll say, hey, you from Utah? Yeah, I am. So how long have you lived there? About 6 years. So are you from Utah? They'll turn it back on me, and then they'll start asking me questions, and I can't ask them anything else because I'm just yak, 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 yak. And they're like, oh yeah, oh really? So then what happened? What next? Oh, that must have been bad. And so they will just ask those questions back, just nodding their head, building rapport in that way. Anytime you can have a high S child, they're such great, wonderful kids when they're younger because they're still going to give you a hug when they're 12 or 13, and they're going to take care of you when you get older. They're not going to send you to North Dakota. They're actually going to listen to you and make sure that you're in a position where you're getting your wants and desires when you get older, as opposed to being just shipped off somewhere. And then there are our high C styles, reserved and task-oriented. These people have never met a spreadsheet they didn't fall in love with immediately. They love pivot tables, organization, order, processes, organization. They're all about that kind of good stuff. My wife is a super high C, very task-oriented. In fact, if you take one of my assessments, see in the link below, you'll see that she's a 100 on the 100 scale. So she can't get any higher in this C category. We like to organize things sort of as I's, but actually not really at all. We don't like that any at all, but my wife is all about that. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we went to this 4-letter word company that I'm not going to name on this video because I consider it to be a curse word. It starts with an I, ends with an A, kind of a bluish and gold logo. If you don't pick up what I'm putting it down, just Google it, you'll find out. So they're big in terms of closet organizations along with selling Swedish meatballs. And so we get there with my 5 kids who were all 13 and under at the time. We spent 9 hours in that place because unfortunately now IKEA has, oh, I said that word, I'm sorry. They have a situation where you can't go pick your stuff out from the shelves down below in the warehouse. You have to have a planner work through all of the bits and pieces every time you do a new design. So we spent 9 hours in that place, and we came home with 14 shelving units, all with these opaque glass doors, because my wife had all these boxes all over the floor, and it created a great amount of anxiety. So C's are super organized people. I spent the next 3 weekends building those shelving units. Happy wife, happy life, woohoo! And so she got all that clutter out, and she was able to finally relax at that point. Now that we've perked your curiosity just a little bit, click on this link right here, this one that I've been told many, many times is right here, not over here, but over here, to get to our high D study.